Good evening. This is Look Up TV, and of course you're watching Look Up Weekend. Thank you very much for joining us. You're right on time for the top stories making headlines tonight, picking from across all the scenes that are happening in the country, including what is now going on Matatu Politics, as Azimio Coalition has insisted that they will forge ahead with the petition, of course challenging the just released presidential elections that has seen William Ruto as the 5th president-elect of the Republic of Kenya. More of that particular story in detail and many others lined up tonight. But first, here are the stories making the top headlines tonight.
The news headlines in association with
Tonight on Look Up Weekend.
The deputy president, Lily, again, just with the same behavior, conning some young people who are elected in parliament that you can move. You cannot. In fact, those young people risk losing their seat even before they are sworn in.
The Azimio Coalition set to head to the Supreme Court on Monday as Jubilee Party warns newly elected leaders against party hopping. Also tonight,
naomba Mungu aliye juu, hata kama iko kesi kotini, kusiwe na mambo ingine ya kuwa na wadhiriwa wengine katika Kenya. Yes. Kila mwananchi akae vizuri. Kama ulichagua nani ama ulichagua nani, sisi wananchi tusiwe na furugu hata kidogo.
Internally displaced persons in Laikipia call on the government to hasten the process of land allocation. And in Meru,
mama alifungwa na sigenge kamba kwa shingo, pia alifungwa mguu na alikuwa anatoa damu kwa mdomo na mapua.
A Mira business lady found dead and her 12-year-old daughter raped in Maua town, Meru County.
Yippee! Kamata floating at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Join us in these conversations using the hashtag #LookUpWeekend, and of course, the bulletin starts right now. We start with Matatu Politics, and as the debate wages on whether or not the Azimio Coalition will move to court to contest the presidential results as declared by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati, there is now clear indications that the coalition will forge ahead with their stand and file the case on Monday next week. Outgoing Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana has affirmed that Azimio is on course to pursue justice at the Supreme Court and revealed that the coalition is currently reviewing the merits of gathered evidence before officially lodging the case in court. Now, reporter Henry Tende has the details to this story.
With a 7-day window within which a case challenging presidential results is permitted by law fast elapsing, it is now emerging as Azimio Coalition has not abandoned its quest to challenge William Ruto's victory as declared by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati. Credible sources intimate the coalition will file their case at the Supreme Court on Monday, which is the final day for filing the case. According to outgoing Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana, the coalition is carefully and critically analyzing the merits of the case before officially filing the case. Key issues the Azimio coalition party is grappling with include whether or not there is sufficient evidence to prosecute the case, whether stakeholders raised any concerns on the conduct of the IEBC Commission from polling results transmission and final results tabulation and declaration, whether IEBC officials raised challenges in the entire exercise, whether or not the presidential votes tally matches that of other elective seats such as senatorial and gubernatorial, whether or not agents for various political parties rejected some of the results declared by presiding officers at the polling stations, and whether the elections observers picked issues of concern in their reports. For the first time, the country has witnessed unprecedented division among the IEBC commissioners, denting the image of the electoral agency and its overall credibility. In addition to the issues the coalition is deliberating on, Azimio is taking stock of whether the division in any way interfered with the transparency of the results declared by electoral body. Moreover, Azimio will establish whether the three commissioners who were present during the presidential results declaration colluded to mess with the final tally in a move to defeat a democratic process. In the same breath, Azimio is seeking to establish whether the final presidential tally met the 50+1% threshold to give William Ruto a first-round win. As he supported the coalition's resolve to go to court, Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has cautioned members elected on Azimio ticket not to leave the coalition, saying they stand to lose their seats because they signed a binding agreement.
The Deputy President, Lily, again, just with the same behavior, conning some young people who are elected in parliament that you can move. You cannot. In fact, those young people risk losing their seats even before they are sworn in, because they have already given grounds for petition. And if they are being petitioned from where they were elected, this becomes another ground in the petition. And I think it is good. Kama we ni kiongozi na ulichaguliwa, be calm. Why is the hurry? Be calm. Leaders are supposed to take stock of things before you rush into decisions like I can see people doing. We have our coalition partners as Azimio. Again, let them also know that the documents we signed before the 9th of August elections are binding.
In the event the court annuls the presidential results, Azimio will seek to have IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati indicted for compromising the transparency of the entire exercise. As Azimio plans to move to court, Bungoma Senator wants President Uhuru Kenyatta to come out in public and declare his stand in regards to the just concluded elections.
Ile tunakuomba tu, vile the delegation from America told you yesterday. And I want to thank you for assuring them that the transition will be orderly. Please break your silence and acknowledge, one, that there was an election, two, that you supported a candidate, three, that the candidate you supported did not win, four, that the candidate you didn't support won, and five, that the candidate who won will succeed you regardless of your feelings, because that is the choice of the people of Kenya.
Henry Tende, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
All right, now moving on, Jeremiah Kuloba, popularly known as Mzee Kabichi, is among the candidates making headlines after the just concluded elections. The market seller successfully clinched the MCA seat at Township Ward, Bungoma County, in a highly competitive race that saw him garner 2,503 votes. Kuloba now says he is ready to serve his people, knowing too well the needs of Township Ward. Take a look.
Popularly known as Mzee Kabichi by locals, Jeremiah Kuloba, a market seller, proudly narrates his journey to clinching the MCA seat Township Ward in Bungoma County at the just concluded general elections, a race he says has not been a walk in the park.
Makabichi hilo nilipewa na wale wapinzani wangu wa kisiasa kama jina la kudunisha kuwa mtu wa hali ya chini huyu wa Makabichi. Kampeni yangu ilikuwa na changamoto. Kabla niende kuwakilisha makaratasi yangu kwa IBC, nilikuwa nimeshikwa kwa sababu ya zile gharama nilizokuwa nimepigwa wakati ule nikipeleka hiyo kesi kotini.
It was his 5th stab at the elective position, and this time his undying determination paid off, placing him as the first position with 2,506 votes, with the second candidate following closely with 2,139 votes. The vote hunt was a battle, and wowing the electorate in a competitive region doubled the work.
Nilikuwa naingia saa 12 katika nyumba za watu. Nikawa na mfadhili akawa akinitengenezea cards ndogo ndogo. Nikawa nikigongea watu asubuhi saa 12 kabla waingie makazini, na ogongea na waomba mnisaidie kura yenu. Kafika mwaka wa 2007 wanasoko wakaniambia nijaribu kuingia katika siasa kwa sababu wale watu waliokuwa huko walikuwa hawawatetei hawa watu wa chini. Sikufaulu. Nikapoteza, niliingia na chama kinaitwa ODM Kenya, kile cha Kalonzo Musyoka, na nikapoteza, nikakubali sikuenda mahakamani. Ukaja mwaka wa 2013 nikasukumwa tena niingie. Hata mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa na huo msukumo, nikasema nilijaribu, nikaingia tena, nikaja nikapoteza na kura 57 katika chama cha TNA, na wakati huo pia sikuweza tena kwenda kukata rufaa eti nimepoteza nafasi hiyo.
Working amongst his supporters in the market gave him an added advantage as his fellow market sellers contributed largely to his votes.
Ni mara ya 4 Mzee aking'ang'ana kwa ajili ya kuwa MCA township.
Angalau yeye kama ameingia hapo ataweza kutuchimbia maji. Maji ikikuwa kwa soko hapo hivyo, at least kutakuwa na hiyo hygiene. Wamama wa samaki hawana hata mahali pa kutengenezea samaki yao. Unapata wanatengeneza tu samaki hivyo hivyo tu. Uchafu iko mingi, lakini kama angalau kiongozi tumepata wetu, at least atasikiliza maono yetu na ataweza kufanya vile vitu vyetu tunataka.
Tumeumia sana watu wa soko kubwa. Sasa tuliamua wamama na wapapa tumchakue Makabichi ili anaweza kuokoa maisha yetu, sababu anajua vile tumeteseka pamoja na yetu na nyeshoa na mvua.
Kuloba now says he's ready to serve his people, prioritizing the needs to the best of his ability. Cecilia Lubanga, Look Up TV.
Thank you, Cecilia Lubanga. Congratulations are in order. Moving on. Internally displaced persons in Jericho Camp, Laikipia County, have decried the slow process the government is taking to allocate them land. The IDPs, pardon me, who are living in poverty and harsh weather conditions in makeshift tents, have called on the government to resettle them and enable them live in decent homes. The IDPs have also applauded Kenyans for maintaining peace during and after elections as a step in the right direction to prevent post-election violence. Here's Wairimu Wasike with this report.
It's been 16 years now, and the shadows of the 2007 post-election violence keep creeping on the internally displaced persons at Jericho Camp in Laikipia County. Jericho Camp, a safe haven for post-election victims, but here, high levels of poverty is significant, with the IDPs living in makeshift tents that barely shield them from cold nights and rainy days. The IDPs, led by coordinator James Mwaura, have expressed their day-to-day frustrations as they struggle to make ends meet. Despite receiving donations from well-wishers, the residents decry their limited resources.
Now ishi kwa kambi ya Kianjogu ama Jericho Camp in Laikipia, tunataka kusikia hawa watu wameangaliwa na wametazamiwa, and especially kwa wakati kama huu wa mvua. Hawa watu wanaangamia, wako na makaratasi. Tumejaribu hata shughuli kwa Red Cross imeshindikana. Serikali tumekimbia kwayo, haikutushughulikia kwa wakati huo wote, lakini sasa nina uhakika hawa watu wataangaliwa, watapewa hema, wapewe maji, wapewe sanitation, na hata watoto wa shule waangaliwe jameni, maana watoto wa shule wameruhusu shule na wataangamia. Kwa hivyo mimi nauliza serikali iangazie mashamba ambayo yamenunuliwa, ambayo tunajua ya kwamba the National Land Commission iko na kopia haya mashamba yote, na tunajua ya kwamba kuna matapeli ambao wamenyakua yale mashamba serikali ingie na irudishe mashamba kwa mkono wa serikali, waadhiriwa hawa wapewe.
Mimi majina yangu ni Pastor Peter Gongu. Mimi niliadhirika kutoka Molo, na tulipoadhirika kutoka Molo 2007, 2008, Mimi nilifika Nyandarua 208 na tulipokuja hapa tulichunguza na tukasikia iko mashamba yalikuwa yamenunuliwa na serikali ya president wetu aliyetuacha President Kibaki. Na sasa hii ni serikali ya tatu imepita. Kwa sababu ya Kibaki ilipita, ya Uhuru imepita, sasa tuko katika serikali ya tatu. Na bado maagano yako ati serikali itatuhudumia. Ni wakati gani ikiwa sio wakati huu? Ni kwa nini tunasubuka? Ni kwa nini tunataabika na mashamba yako?
The IDPs are now calling on the government to allocate them land and enable them afford decent homes as they provide for their families. They have also commended Kenyans on maintaining peace during and after the August 9th elections, hoping against hope that peace will prevail to ensure that there are no victims of post-election violence.
Tunaomba Mungu aliye juu, hata kama iko kesi kotini, kusiwe na mambo ingine ya kuwa na waadhiriwa wengine katika Kenya. Kila mwananchi akae vizuri. Kama ulichagua nani ama ulichagua nani, sisi wananchi tusiwe na furugu hata kidogo. Tukae kama ndugu na dada, kwa sababu sisi ndio tunaumia, wananchi wa chini.
Sisi kama waadhiriwa tunauliza serikali, tafadhali utukumbuke, kwa sababu tumekaa huko Kiajogu camp na hatuna mashamba. Tafadhali tunauliza serikali mtushughulikie, tupate mashamba yetu, tupate boma zetu, na hata sisi tuweze kukaa kama Wakenya wengine.
Wairimo Wasike, Look Up TV.
All right, you are watching Look Up Weekend. That is just but a glimpse of the stories we have prepared for you today. Thank you very much for keeping it Look Up Weekend. This is Look Up TV. Continue engaging with me throughout this bulletin using the hashtag Look Up Weekend, hashtag Choice 2022. Now moving on, just about 10 days after the general election and 4 days after the president-elect pronouncement or declaration, Kenyans have significantly maintained peace, even as all eyes are on the Supreme Court for the way forward on the presidency. In our daily segment of Your Opinion Matters, Shalin Mwende spoke to Nairobi residents about this, and here is what they had to say.
This year's general elections will go down in history as the most peaceful elections ever in the country. The big question is, where exactly has the headspace of Kenyans been during this electioneering period?
Zimekuwa peaceful kwa sababu watu wengi wako njaa. Na tukiangalia nchi yetu mahali imefika saizi, hakuna mtu anaweza toka kugoma juu ya mtu. Saizi Wakenya wamerevuka na Wakenya wamekuwa na akili sana. Na hata tunashukuru Mungu kwa kuwa Wakenya wengi wamerevuka. Hawezi pigana, hawezi nini. Iwe Mjaluo, iwe Mkikuyu, iwe Mluya, wote wamejua wakienda kununua unga kwa duka, Mkikuyu akinunua unga 230, hata Mjaluo anaenda kununua unga 230. Na hiyo ndio imefanya Wakenya wengi wamekuwa na peace na wamejua amani ni muhimu.
We have been informed about how to go about the elections, and I think Kenyans are becoming more democrats, and we are trying to come out of the culture of causing chaos.
Kwa sababu wa Kenya washachoka na mambo kila time kuriot. You are rioting au benefit from the riot yenye unaenda kufanya. So I guess Kenyans waliamua si tumevote. So hakuna haja tuendelee na kama mwenye alishinda ameshinda, mwenye alishindwa alishindwa. So hakuna haja tuendelee na kuriot. So I think most Kenyans wamesema already washachoka na hii mambo. So we just move on. Economy ni mbaya.
I think Kenyans are tired of the same old faces, looking at the same Railas, Rutos, the same people who've been there consistently in elections. That's why Kenyans don't want to vote. That's why you experience voter apathy. Yeah, so Kenyans just want new fresh blood. The next elections, which just new Kenyans, new youth should contest in the elections.
The election purely is peaceful simply because Kenyans normally we follow our leaders. If the top leaders are peaceful, normal person in this country will be peaceful. Yes, so I think to me that is what played most in what we have seen for the last 1 week. If leaders are making noise, you expect each and every person in this country to follow them.
In 2017, I think I was also there, or 2007. I think it was because of we were not well informed, and we didn't have more concerns about if anything happens, what can we do? People are just anxious, waiting our leader have won, let him be sworn in. But now things are changing, whereby even if the person you are expecting to win has not won yet or is in court, we can restrain and wait until the court process is done.
2007, 2013, I guess it's because of economy vile iko. Because wase wanasema tukijaribu kufanya hii kitu, it's different. Economy vile ilikuwa 2017, it's different from vile iko sahi. So I think people wameopt kwenda tu kurudi job, at least watafute kitu ya kufanya na kitu ya kukula.
I bet the ABC has become more, its systems have become better. They've upgraded their systems, and they've also become transparent. And also, there is some sense of professionalism in ABC. That's why you see that they're conducting elections more professionally. And that's why there's no violence, because people don't contest the outcome, don't go to court, because they believe in the credibility of the elections.
It is different simply because Kenyans went out, they voted peacefully, we were waiting for the result peacefully. There was no incitements during the campaign periods. Each and every side was selling their agenda, real issues. So I think that is the different from the last elections. We were talking on real issues, how we can improve the country.
Few opinions from Kenyans, many relaying the fact that they are tired of post-election violence and tension, even as they commend the IEBC for conducting a free, fair, transparent and credible elections. Shalin Mwende, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Now, on Matatu Security, women in Maua Town, Meru County, have held protests after the body of a middle-aged Miraa businesswoman of Somali origin was discovered and her 12-year-old daughter raped. As Edwin Mukora reports, police in Igembe South Sub-County have assured residents that investigations are ongoing and the culprits will be brought to book.
A somber mood has engulfed Maua Town in Meru County after a 42-year-old woman was found murdered and her 12-year-old daughter raped in a different area. According to police reports, the deceased, who was a mineral trader, was strangled and stabbed several times.
Mama alifungwa na sigenge kamba kwa shingo, pia alifungwa mguu na alikuwa anatoa damu kwa mdomo na mapua. Na hapa ilidungwa na kisu kwa sababu damu ilikuwa inatoka hapa kwa kifua na sisi tunahitaji haki yetu.
Angry residents took to the sub-county office to protest the heinous act on the mother of 6 and her daughter. Residents now claiming the perpetrators killed the woman first and later defiled the minor.
Tumepata shida, kuna mama yetu mmoja alikuwa na watoto 7 na alikuwa analea bila baba. Yeye ndio baba na mama. Sasa mama ameuliwa. Amenyongwa, akakatwa na kisu, akapeleka nyumba ambaye iko majengo kidogo, ndio amefinika, akakuja kwa mtoto akagongea mlango. Sasa ile mtoto akafungua akasema lete hiyo simu iko na 20,000 pin. Mtoto akasema ajui mama pin yake. Akamwambia nitakurepa. Mtoto amelia akamshuruta mkono akapeleka nyumba nyingine nusu. Akamrepa mtoto. Akamfanyia vibaya.
Gembe South Sub-County Commander Abdi Hassan has confirmed the incident and said investigations are ongoing to bring the perpetrators to book.
Apata mama, maiti ya mama hapo, kuna madamu hapo stairs hapo gorofa. Sasa kama sisi polisi tumechukua mwili nenda mochari, lakini uchunguzi umeanza. Nafikiria ile mtu amefanya hiyo madhambi tunamshika. Tuna suspects ambaye tunafuatilia. I think sasa sisi sema mapema baada ya uchunguzi tutashika yule mtu alifanya hiyo kisa.
Edwin John Mukora, Look Up TV.
Quite unfortunate, and of course investigations are underway. Back to politics. The 2022 President-elect William Ruto's promise to Kenyans to lower the high cost of living within the first 100 days of his presidency is what many Kenyans are looking forward to should the Supreme Court uphold his win. In the event that he is sworn in as Kenya's 5th president, Ruto will have to deliver the pledges he made on the campaign trail to lower the high cost of living, pump 50 billion shillings hustler fund to small businesses, and to ease the general business environment. Edwin John Mukora reports on the possibility of realizing these promises.
With the Deputy President William Ruto promising to reduce the high cost of living within the first 100 days of his inauguration, economic experts now say it will be impractical for the president-elect to achieve this, as he has to navigate his way through a ballooning public debt that currently stands at 8.6 trillion and an economic still ailing from the shocks of the pandemic.
As I was saying, if everything is held constant and he becomes the president, in his first 100 days he has promised that he's going to pump 50 billion, I think, to young people. He's going to pump 20 billion to women. He's thrown figures around. What I've always said is that these figures are not practical, coming at the backdrop of our debt and coming at the backdrop of our budget, because the budget has already been passed, and so unless he passes a supplementary budget, I don't see how he's going to achieve and attain the things that he promised to do in the first 100 days. So in the first 100 days, anyone who is going to be appointed to be president is going to operate under the auspices of the budget that has already been passed. And so it is going to be impractical for them to apportion billions of money to places that have not been envisaged by the CS Treasury when he was passing the budget.
Analysts now argue that for the 50 billion hustler fund to work, Ruto first has to stabilize the macroeconomic environment to enable the small businesses to prosper. Impossible at the moment, saying the government has to stabilize the economy
So in my view, I don't see how he's going to be able to, and they've said they want to dwell on domestic borrowing insofar as dealing with the debt issue is concerned and going to the banks. I think it beats logic to go to the domestic borrowing as Uhuru's regime has done, which Ruto has been part of it. They've been going to the domestic borrowing at the same time injuring the SMEs. And so you cannot be saying your policy is bottom up, empowering the SMEs. Yet, if you're going to go to the domestic borrowings, you're going to crowd out the SMEs from borrowing. So then you're not empowering them, as you're saying that you're going to empower them.
Okay, so he's saying one or another.
He's allowed to give 50 billion to anyone. I mean, this government has told us that 2 billion is lost every day to corruption. So he's allowed to give 50 billion to anyone. What you're asking is the practicability of giving 50 billion to a group of people. And beyond the practicability, where are you getting this 50 billion from? As far as you're concerned, the economy has really shrinked. We are just trying to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we are yet to recover fully. There are other aspects, the other sectors of this economy that are yet to pick up completely. So how are you telling us that you're going to take 50 billion to give to Hustler, to establish a Hustler fund, and then it's going to be a credit facilities that people are going to draw from? First, you have to have practicability insofar as that is concerned, because you have to establish systems in place, put systems in place, show us how this 50 billion is not going to be wasted to corruption. In the current setting of Kenya, it is not practical. Remember, the biggest problem that the SMEs face is access to credit facilities and a lot of licensing, that they have to pay a lot of licenses, and then they cannot access credit because the credit facilities that are available at the banks, they've been taken up by the government, because the government then resulted, the government of Uhuru Kenyatta resulted to go to domestic borrowing, and they went to concessional loans, treasury bonds, they went to the banks. And so it was hard for the banks to actually lend to the SMEs. So I'm saying these things cannot exist together. At one hand, you cannot deny someone who relies on that as a source of income, and then at the other end, you're saying you want to empower the other people. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to go for loans that are supposed to be getting to the SMEs. You're not going to go to banks, ask for 50 billion from the banks, and then you use that 50 billion to give the SMEs. That beats logic.
For a man who is just a step away from the apex seat in the country, raiding on empowering small businesses, experts argue that his magic bullet in making this a reality will be through extension of long-term credits to the small businesses in the country, as well as reducing the cost of doing businesses. How easy he is going to achieve these in a sector that has proven a challenge the former government to formalize will be one to watch.
As you've heard from the experts, Kenyans have to brace themselves for tougher economic times, since the promises made by the incoming government in their manifesto seems to be impractical to deal with in the first 100 days. Edwin John Mokora, Look Up Business.
Their rich pre-season form with a 4-1 hiding of Posta Rangers at Camp Toyoyo grounds in Nairobi, and the Dockers, who beat non-league side Nation FC 2-0 on Thursday, were too superior to their fellow Football Kenya Federation Premier League opponents, racing to a 3-0 lead at halftime. Bandari's new signing, James Kinyanjui, opened the scores in the first minute before Chris Oching doubled their lead in the 70th minute with a powerful header. And on the international sports news, 13 times English Premier League champions Manchester United has secured Brazilians international Francisco Casemiro from Real Madrid. The 30-year-old midfielder has joined Red Devils with a fixed fee of £60 million on a 4-year deal. Now, lack of new signings has been one of the issues blamed for embarrassing defeats to Brighton and Brentford, with Lisandro Martinez, Christian Eriksen and Tyrell the only additions to Ten Hag's squad. All right, now we wrap up with the Premier League fixture, and the English Premier League continues on Saturday with 6 games expected to be played. Tottenham Hotspurs will play against Wolverhampton in the early kickoff. Crystal Palace will go head-to-head with Aston Villa, and Everton will play the newcomers Nottingham Forest at Goodison Park. Now Fulham takes on Brentford as Leicester City will lock heads with Southampton, while Arsenal visits AFC Bournemouth at Vitality Stadium. Now, of course, you get more of that on the sports show tomorrow. That is Safu Ya Sporty.